So I'm standing here with Dr. Mick. He's from Houston, Texas, an amazing chiropractor. He's had some just huge transformations, not only as a chiropractor, but as a father, as a husband with some illnesses and chronic problems his wife was dealing with. And I just wanted to just take time out of. I know we're in classes, we're learning how to get sick people well, Dr. Mick. And I've always just loved hanging out with you. You're a great guy. I've seen changes in your life that have just been amazing, and it's just inspiring. Just to hang out with people like you. We've texted back and forth, even though I'm in Washington, you're in Texas. But, I just really wanted to just kind of dig deep into your heart and just kind of interview you on what does maximized living mean to you and your family, and even ultimately, how does that translate into patients? Because that's who we want to reach out to, is just patients, people that may have gone through experiences you've gone through in life, but as a maximized living doctor, what would you say to somebody or somebody who is suffering or sick? What would you tell them?
I appreciate that, Troy, what you said. I feel the exact same way about you, by the way. But, getting back to this amazing group of freaky people called maximized living doctors, I thank God every day for maximized living and what it's done for me and how it's saved my life. It's saved my wife's life. As you know, she had a genetic kidney disorder and was on 4.5 hours of dialysis a day and 8 different medications. And of course, when do you find out your kidney's failing? When they fail.
Yeah.
And pretty took us by storm. And here I am, a chiropractor, and I just thank God that a maximized living doctor sat me down in one of those chairs, just like in our doctor's report, and explained what chiropractic was to me, a chiropractor, and got to apply that in my life and my wife's life, and it made every difference in the world. And now she's doing great, and of course she's had a transplant, but it's been just a ridiculously successful transplant. And of course who winds up giving her a kidney? Another maximized living chiropractor, and happened to be a perfect match. So God was in it the whole time.
And didn't you say on that transplant that the doctors were so surprised at how her body recovered, how quick she recovered? It just my take on it, that was just me observing this as her body's in such an amazing state. Even though she had an issue with her kidney, she healed so much faster than what these other traditional doctors are seeing because she applies the principles.
Yeah, great. You're exactly right. So here she was on 4.5 hours of dialysis and 8 medications. We start applying the principle in her life. She goes to 2 hours of dialysis, which she can do at home. And at the time, this is hemodialysis, the kind where you stick yourself. She can do this, and she's on 1 medication that she has to take when she eats so she can bind phosphorus. So she's doing that. So they've never seen that. Nobody's dialysis time ever goes down.
Yeah.
Nobody ever comes back from this genetic condition that she had. And she was still doing great. But, hey, even as great as that was, and she looked great, her blood pressure's normal, no osteoporosis, no cardiac calcification, all the things that go along with hemodialysis. She had none of those complications. And you look at her in a room full of kidney patients, and you'd be looking at somebody who didn't belong.
Yeah.
It didn't make any sense. The doctors were always confounded by that, and they would ask her, they would say, what are you doing that's different? And she would tell them, prayer and chiropractic. And of course, they just kind of scratch their heads at that. They don't, it's not in their model. They don't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
And when it's time for a transplant, as great as she was doing, still when somebody offers you a kidney, you take it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And,
yeah.
And it's a match. So the doctors, they would walk in the room and say, at the hospital, and they say, so you're going to give a kidney? And she's like, no, I'm going to receive one. And they would have to double check their chart. They just kept confusing her as the donor instead of the recipient.
That's amazing.
And, just amazing recovery.
Yeah.
And without these principles. So that's it. As bad as that was, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. But the reality is we're thankful for that.
Yeah. I'm sure it's been a blessing to you. You've learned a lot of things out of this. So if there are people out there who are just watching this or listening on the radio, what would you say if they're like, that's amazing. How come my doctors have never, ever communicated this kind of healing to me? What would you tell those people that are like, maybe they've been under the medical, regime for 15, 20 years, suffering, they're sick, they're skeptical. What would you tell them about maximized living? What would you just, from your heart, what would you tell people?
I would tell them that when you're with a maximized living doctor, you're in front of someone, a man or a woman who absolutely understands your battle and absolutely wants to do everything in their power to help you, and they don't care what it is, because they've either walked down that road and they've seen it in themselves personally or their own family, or they've seen it in thousands of patients and saved thousands of lives, and all they want to do is help you. That's what I would say from my heart. You're talking to somebody who truly cares and not just going to throw you into some kind of protocol that's who knows what it's for.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's absolutely right. So I just appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. I know we're in classes, we're learning how to save more lives, and you're sitting in front of me in one of them here. So thank you so much, Dr. Mick from Houston, Texas. Appreciate you taking time to be with us today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.